Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we are going to review Z-Race VR, a game released out in early access on the Steam store today, March 2nd, 2021, by developer Zocus. It's available for the HTC Vive, Valve Index, and the Oculus Rift. It normally retails for $15. I got a free Steam key through the Steam Creator Connect program to review this game. I tested this game out on the Oculus Quest 2 using the Oculus Link cable. Z-Race VR is definitely a new type of racing game I've never played before. It's a mishmash of endless runners, of Zortex, of zero gravity racers. So the end product is basically you're holding your racer in your hand, and that's how you steer it as you're going down a tunnel at breakneck speeds. And basically what you're trying to do is avoid any obstacles and use your power-ups, your boost, and your slow time ability. Currently in early access there's only one game mode, that's the asynchronous game mode, which is basically you're racing against other timed racers or ghosts of other racers. There's also 10 anti-gravity racers with 3 different classes for those 10 racers. There's 12 unique tracks across 4 terrains, and the developers do promise to bring more content in the future. So the obvious question is this new type of racer really any good? And should you buy Z-Race VR? I personally have mixed feelings about Z-Race VR. Initially I did really like it, but after spending some time with the game, after about an hour I was starting to get bored with the gameplay. The gameplay currently in early access is just too repetitious, and for me personally there just isn't enough depth to the gameplay to make it interesting for an extended period of time after the novelty of the gameplay wears off. Like I mentioned, there's 3 classes of anti-gravity racers, and after I finished the first class and did all the races and finished first in all of them, I was starting to get bored, and it only took me a little over 30 minutes to do that. But I kept on playing and I got to the level 1, the fastest anti-gravity racers, but it was doing the same tracks over and over again for each of the different classes. And although the gameplay did get more difficult and challenging, it was mostly just due to the increased speeds. There was nothing really new introduced into the gameplay. It was just harder and harder to avoid hitting obstacles as the speeds got faster and faster. I did end up getting number 1 on each of the races up until the Class 1 Racers Gold races. As far as the global leaderboards, I did crack the top 10 on several of the racing tracks. But if I'm being honest, I've just played much better racing games in VR, and to me this just felt more like an endless runner than anything else, and that was just not a good combination. The novelty wears off really quickly in this game. Z-Race VR is running on the Unity engine. On my RTX 3080 I was getting 90 frames per second for the most part, but I did have several drops into the 70s. There were no settings whatsoever for this game, and that's pretty disappointing for a racing title not to have that. And I did have to manually recenter my position in VR in order to be completely center in this game. I did find that I had to play this game standing because I did have to turn around 360 in order to go through the racing tracks without going totally out of bounds or twisting myself too much. If you try to play this game seated, you will be at a severe disadvantage, and I don't think you'll be able to actually finish some of the laps here if you play seated. While I did not experience any serious issues or bugs, I did experience an issue where my head kept going out of the tunnel, and it did make it hard to see the racetrack, and that's something that just constantly happened throughout the game. I believe that needs to be fixed because it's easy to get off center in this game, and it makes the racing that much harder. I also experienced a little bug where the game showed me in second place, but when I finished the race I actually ended up being in first. I still don't know how that happened, but that was a bug that I noticed. Now I did like the graphics overall, but it definitely does feel weird that your head goes through the tunnel. I think that needs to be fixed somehow, but overall I think the graphics look nice, but I definitely think there could be more variety as far as the tunnels, as far as some of the environments. They could just be more interesting to race through. They honestly chose some of the most basic obstacles in the way for you to go through. They're not very exciting, you know, the old hole in a wall that twists around, and just some like red primitive objects in the way, just blocking your path for no apparent reason. And the anti-gravity racers themselves actually look nice, but they were sprinkled with a lot of advertisements for a lot of VR content creators. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of that. Before I end my review, I want to make one thing clear, is that you do steer the racer with your hands. I know it seems weird, but you're not just moving your racer, you're actually tilting it to make it steer across the tunnel. It feels a little weird at first, but you do get used to it pretty quickly, but that just isn't enough, and you just don't seem to have enough control over the racing, especially when your camera view goes off center pretty easily in this game. So if I have to rate Z-Race VR, I would give it a 5.5 out of 10. I definitely think there's a competent racer here, and it definitely could be improved in the future to make for a better racing formula, but as it stands now, it's just not very enthralling. There's not enough steps here to keep you interested for more than a few hours, so I just can't recommend it at the $14.99 price. I would definitely say buy on a deep sale or wait for future updates. Maybe this game will be more interesting in the future. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. If you liked my review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.